Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. More countries are tightening their travel restrictions after a new coronavirus variant was identified in South Africa earlier this week.
I wish to stress that we're working quickly and we're working with a high degree of uncertainty.
Britain's Health Minister Sajid Javid told Parliament that it was now highly likely that a new coronavirus variant had spread beyond South Africa's borders. The UK, Singapore and Japan are among those rushing in stricter quarantine measures and banning flights from South Africa and neighbouring countries. The EU is proposing to ban flights from the region across the whole bloc. Emmanuel Macron has reacted angrily to Boris Johnson's public call for France to take back migrants who reach the UK.
Je dis au nom du gouvernement français que c'est une lettre.
Responding to a letter written by the Prime Minister, this French government spokesman accused Mr Johnson of double talk for saying something different to Mr Macron privately.
I'd like to make a statement about the tragic drownings.
The diplomatic row erupted after France withdrew a summit invitation to Home Secretary Priti Patel. 27 people drowned trying to cross the Channel to England on Wednesday. Belgium, France, the Netherlands, Germany and the European Commission are all due to attend Sunday's talks in Calais to try to deal with the recent surge in crossings. Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko has called on Germany to take asylum seekers stranded at the border with Poland as he visited a warehouse sheltering migrants. In his first public appearance at the border since the start of the crisis, Lukashenko visited a facility providing migrants with food and spoke to Red Cross workers at the camp. The European Union has accused Belarus of flying in thousands of people from the Middle East and pushing them to cross into the bloc in retaliation for EU sanctions, something Belarus denies. A Royal Australian Air Force aircraft has arrived in Honiara, the capital of the Solomon Islands, following 3 days of violent protests in the South Pacific island nation. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison had accepted a request from the Solomon Islands Prime Minister for help a day earlier. Witnesses said Australian police had begun taking control of hotspots after local authorities had struggled to prevent protesters from burning buildings and widespread looting. Riot police in Turkey and Mexico have fired tear gas and smoke bombs at protesters who are calling for an end to violence against women. It comes as thousands of women across Latin America demonstrated in the streets of major cities to demand their governments put an end to gender-based violence. To mark the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, protests in the capitals of Argentina, Chile, Venezuela and the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro saw women of all ages demanding their right to safer lives. Demonstrations are being staged at Amazon buildings in the UK, US and Europe on Black Friday, Amazon's busiest day of the year. An international coalition of unions, equality and environmental groups called Make Amazon Pay is staging a day of action demanding concessions. The movement is demanding Amazon make changes to its business, including improved pay, an end to employee surveillance and union engagement. In an unrelated separate protest, the Extinction Rebellion Environment Group has blocked the entrances to Amazon distribution centres across the UK. Tens of thousands of farmers across India have gathered to mark the one-year anniversary of sustained demonstrations against 3 farm laws introduced last year. Seeking to end the longest-running farmers' protest that galvanised growers across the country, Prime Minister Narendra Modi last week bowed to the protesters' demand to repeal the controversial laws introduced in September last year. Farmers celebrated the retreat but said the protest would only be called off when Parliament repealed the laws and the government promised legislation that would ensure state-set minimum support prices for all produce, not just rice and wheat. And finally, Cambodian conservationists have released 51 critically endangered royal turtles back into the wild. It's part of a drive to bolster a species thought to be extinct 2 decades ago. The 31 females and 20 males, between 6 and 15 years old, have been implanted with a microchip and have an acoustic transmitter attached to their shells to monitor their movements. The royal turtle was designated Cambodia's national reptile in 2005. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.